What is good, everybody? Welcome back into Breaking Bet. I know it's been a minute. It's been a little while since the boys have been at it. So we do apologize about the hiatus. Just some scheduling conflicts that have kind of derailed some of our shows recently. But we are back. It's JohnnyVTV with my guy John Bollman, ready to talk some ball. College baseball week 11. We're getting after it. John, my boy, how's it going?
It's good, man. Yeah, I've been tough. I mean, we've had some Thursday starts. We've had a bunch of weeks where we just don't get odds Thursday night anymore. It seems like they've been a lot slower. So, a lot going on, but glad to be back on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we were scheduled to go on at noon. So I do apologize. I didn't get some of these odds updated until just now. But John, let's start out here with this Friday night slate. I was going to start with OK State, Texas Tech, but that actually had a really early first pitch. So we're going to go down to Stark Vegas with Mississippi State and LSU. It's a large price here at Mississippi State. They've been missing Ryan McPherson for the better part of a month plus, and they've kind of been spiraling recently since they got swept against Georgia at home. Now, the thing is with Mississippi State, I feel like they're still fine. Like, if there's no reason to panic, this is a legit College World Series contender. But now you have LSU coming in who, I mean, the wheels have fallen off. I mean, it's really odd, is it not? It's bizarre that we've seen LSU go from a national championship team to a team that, quite frankly, might not even make the field to 64 if this keeps up. I mean, is there any reason that you'd be looking at LSU to steal any game plus 190, Case and Evans on the mound?
No, not at all, especially with Jake Brown's injury too now. He's out for the season. Yeah. I mean, LSU, it seems like their floor was, at least a 1 or 2 seed in, essentially being ranked going into the postseason. But, man, they have really underperformed. Their pitching staff's been absolutely terrible. Some guys that they've been able to rely on, they haven't anymore. So I definitely like Mississippi State here.
Yeah, I do as well. I'm still not laying it at minus 250, but I think this is a strong parlay piece. I just think Mississippi State has enough pitching to kind of withstand. And LSU's offense has been an issue as well. And now you lose your if not one of your most potent hitters in Jake Brown, who's having a career breakout. But Case and Evans, I think we pointed this out at the beginning of the season or preseason. There's a big difference between being a key reliever, swing guy, transitioning to a Sunday role last year, and then becoming the Friday night guy this year. Like, we saw Cade Anderson kind of do that the year before, but not everybody can do it. It doesn't always pan out like that, and that's ultimately what's been the issue. But look, man, I just felt like last week LSU had a shot to put a stop to the spiral and get back. Felt like a letdown for possibly A&M to lose the series, and LSU just wanted no part of it. So I don't think there's a reason now for LSU to be bet on. I mean, maybe they come out and have a good weekend, but I'm going to go with the assumption that Mississippi State is ripe for a rebound here as they look for a strong finish to the regular season end. Let's take a stop over to the Big 12. Let's talk about West Virginia, sitting at a short second spot in the Big 12 standings right now behind the Kansas Jayhawks. West Virginia's had a lot of this push-pull this year. They've had some series where they looked really good. They've had some series where they haven't looked good. It's been a little bit of push-pull with the pitching. They moved Dawson Montesa out of the Friday night role. It's going to be Ian Korn now. Ian Korn's had a good year. Now he's going to go up against Nathan Taylor, one of my favorite guys, favorite pitchers, really, that's not in the SEC or the ACC. Now, Nathan Taylor for Cincinnati, he's had a really good year. His ERA is not necessarily indicative of how well he's pitched. He's had a couple bad starts, and really the long ball has been what's done him in. But this is a very, very strong Friday night guy in any conference, nonetheless a Power Four. And he's got one of the best hitters in the country behind him in Quentin Coates, who's pushing for the college lead with Landon Hairston of Arizona State. Basically a coin flip game. John, do you think Cincinnati has the advantage here on Friday night with Nathan Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is they have their Friday night guy. West Virginia's been, toying with it. They're two guy. Do you know if he came out injured early last weekend? Do you know if he's pitching this weekend?
Who?
Is it Yell?
No, it's Korn. From what I saw, the matchup was supposed to be Korn, who just got vaulted into the Friday night role versus Nathan.
Yeah, no, I'm saying tomorrow. Do you know if Yell's going to go to the series?
I saw Monteza going tomorrow for West Virginia.
So, yeah, I mean, they may even be down their best starter this weekend as well, which obviously thins out their bullpen and just their pitching staff in general. And it's not very deep in the first place, which is their issue. So, I think I like Cincinnati at home here. I think they've been sneaky all season. They're a solid team. They've been winning games, even though they haven't gotten really the national credit. In West Virginia, I mean, you never know which team you're going to get. It always seems like they start playing a good team and, either they don't play well, but they do beat down on those bad teams. But this is a tough ask.
Yeah, I mean, look, in all fairness, I hate betting against West Virginia, but like you said, there's just too many of these times where when they play a better team that they fold and they do not put up a good showing. And I still think this is a pretty good team, and that can't be overlooked. But Cincinnati right now, I mean, you have the advantage on the mound with Nathan Taylor, who's a true starter. Ian Korn hasn't been a true starter. I think the last week against Houston was the first time all year he's given any sort of length. He went 5 innings last week. That's the furthest he's gone at all this year. Because before that, he was 1 to 3 innings max. I mean, he's done really well, but it's different when you're seeing a lineup 2-3 times to the order, and then the line was featuring a guy who might have 35 home runs by the time the regular season's over in Quentin Coates. I haven't made an official play, but if I'm going on a pick here, I think Cincinnati is rightfully the favorite. I think 120, I'd probably say 130 is fair with laying it with the Bearcats. But I think it's going to be a good series. I'm not sure who wins the series, but I definitely think Cincinnati is the better play on Friday night. Need to get to 500 lead. Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, Alabama, Tennessee. One of the rare Friday night shootouts that we get. Technically Thursday, but game 1 shootouts was last night. Tennessee, the season of disappointment continues, but now we got Tegan Kuhn's on the mound against Zane Adams. A get-back game for Tennessee. John, I don't know about you, bud, but I keep falling into this trap. Every week I say I'm not going to bet Tennessee, and then it's like they lose a game. It's like, well, they got Tegan Kuhn's on the mound. That's their guy. This is a first-round talent. They got some guys on offense. They're at home. Might be their chance to get back. Is that the case here?
Yeah, I don't know. This is probably one that I'm going to end up staying away from. I was on Alabama yesterday. I didn't think it was going to be nearly as high scoring as it was, though. And, Tennessee hasn't been as much of an over team this season. And, these are the two pitchers for each team that have been the best performers so far this season, who have the 2 best ERAs for these teams. So I would think like an under, but after watching yesterday's game, I don't think I can bet an under here. So I might just go right back to Alabama at plus money because they've been winning late. I believe it was last weekend they got swept, but before that they had been on an absolute tear. So I think I would go Alabama at plus money, but I'm staying away from this one.
I actually like Tennessee here. This is the only game I'm going to give them. I know Evan Blanco in the Sunday role is usually a weapon to have, but Zane Adams, as good as he is, I just think in a spot here where Tennessee needs this game. It's been a rough year for the Vols. Like they need this game to go into tomorrow with some sort of hope that, hey, we can win the series and it's not too late, that we can still make this push to the postseason. Because to be honest, I think there's a really good chance that Alabama wins tomorrow with Upchurch on the mound. I just think this is a Vol spot. I think if they're going to get one here this weekend, it's going to be today. I think it's going to be this game too. What about Florida? I don't know about you, but Florida is maybe the most frustrating team to bet on in the entire country. 1 week they decide to show up and sweep Arkansas. Then the next week they'll come home and they'll get swept by Ole Miss. I mean, it's really bizarre to see what's going on with the Gators. But now they're home against A&M. Now A&M's gotten hot. They've looked good this year. Minus 160 on the road, though, is a big price, especially when you consider who Florida's throwing. And Aiden King. Aiden King is a first rounder next year. He's looked the part too. He's really looked the part. So, John, why wouldn't we be taking Florida at home with a pitching advantage and plus money?
Yeah, Florida is about as Jekyll and Hyde as it gets this year. You don't know which team you're going to get, but that being said, with a team like that, you kind of love them when they're underdogs, because if you do get that good Florida, then it's a massive plus money win. If not, then it's just a plus money loss, and that's not going to kill you. So, yeah, and like you said, they moved King up to the Friday night role maybe a couple weeks ago. So they definitely have the pitching advantage here. I think it's a great look, Florida plus money at home.
Yeah, I'm riding that one out, man. I understand what frustrating adventures it's been this year with Florida, but like you said, at home, game one, plus money, better pitcher on the mound. How could we not take a shot here? So, like, A&M's been really impressive. They had a big win against Texas. They had a big win against LSU last week, and they've really turned it around. I mean, kind of sucks because I was all over A&M last year. I guess it was just a year too early. But whatever happens in the series is irrelevant, because I just think if Florida was going to get one, if they didn't win the series, today would be the day. Because Liam Peterson is literally, in a nutshell, Florida, Jekyll and Hyde. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, it's ugly. What about Wake Forest, Georgia Tech? So, John, let's get into this for a second. Let's preview. Georgia Tech disappointed the hell out of me last weekend. Now, let's give credit where it's due, because UNC played a hell of a series. We're talking about one of the top 3 offenses in the nation with Georgia Tech, and they were silenced last weekend. That UNC pitching showed out. Georgia Tech loses the series. They come home. It's a rebound series. Opportunity for them to stay in the mix at the top of the ACC, which I still believe they're going to win. But the problem is who's coming to town. Not that Wake Forest is that good, but boy, oh boy. We talk a lot about Dax Whitney. We talk a lot about Aiden King. But if there's one guy that can challenge Dax Whitney for top pitcher off the board next summer, it's Chris Lavonis of Wake Forest. This is pretty much how it was Blake Morningstar starting off as the Friday night guy and Lavonis starting off as the Saturday guy. Remember in 2024 when Chase Burns transferred to Wake Forest, he started out as a Saturday guy behind Josh Hartle as the Friday guy. And then after Hartle was just not good, like, we're waiting for when is Chase Burns going to make the move to the Friday spot? And then he did. He's dominant. This is basically the same thing. I'm not saying Chris Lavonis is Chase Burns, but, I mean, goddamn, the way this kid's pitching, we don't know. Now you have Chris Lavonis, who very well might be the best single pitcher that Georgia Tech is going to face this entire regular season. It's a legitimate argument. And he's plus 165. Now, I'm not saying it's a gimme or anything like that, but I think Wake Forest is worth a shot today. If they're ever going to get one, it's going to be today.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, Wake Forest has been red hot, their past couple weekends. Before that, they'd been a lot more, inconsistent. And yeah, if they're going to get one, I do think it's going to be with Lavonis going, but I also think that's why this line is, even as low as it is, as opposed to not like minus 250 or minus 300. I like Georgia Tech in a bounce back spot here. UNC is a good team. They've got good pitching. I do think something like that, like, I think Georgia Tech's a great team, but I think that sort of matchup could kill them in the postseason. in a super regional where it's, only a 3-game series and they match up against 2 really good starters. Or, even in a College World Series where they don't have the pitching depth that's needed. But I do like Georgia Tech in this game. I think if Lavonis is going to get hit, it's probably going to be against this offense.
Mm-hmm. And just for reference, Wake Forest isn't a parlay piece by any stretch. It's like, hey, if you want to throw half unit to a unit on it to take a shot, like this would be the game is all I'm saying. Because I was wrestling with the idea. I'm like, hey, when I put my parlays in today, do I want to have Georgia Tech as a part of that? And ultimately, I thought about what you just said. Like, hey, it's a bounce back spot. It's a game one. They just lost a tough series to UNC, the only team that's a legitimate challenge to them in the ACC. Now they're home. They need a win. They need a series win. I want to take them. But then it's like, against Chris Lavonis, that is a very, very difficult ask. Because I do agree. This is one of the best offenses, maybe the best offense Lavonis is going to see as well. But we've seen what just happened last week when the Tar Heels, who coming into the year were expected to have a top 5 pitching staff. And I mean, really, they've pitched like it. And they shut down Georgia Tech. I mean, Georgia Tech didn't have that avalanche of an explosion in any single game. Chris Lavonis is that guy that I think could kind of repeat what UNC did. So ultimately, that's why I stayed away from Georgia Tech in any parlay. Now, later on this weekend, maybe I'll get back into Georgia Tech because I do think they're going to win the series, but it's definitely something to consider when deciding if you want to have the Yellow Jackets in a parlay piece today, or if, I want to take a shot on Wake Forest straight because this is a good number. It's food for thought. Do have a comment here. Wake Forest run line +1.5. It's interesting. I mean, truth be told, I think if Wake Forest wins, they're going to win outright. And if they lose, they're going to lose by 5 runs. I don't know if I see Wake Forest losing close. All right. Oklahoma, Auburn. I mean, let's talk about it. This Auburn Tigers, they got one of the best pitching staffs in the country right now. Every one of their starters has a microscopic ERA. Kind of bizarre because Jake Marciano was killing it to start the year as the Friday night guy. He gets bumped back. Andreas Alvarez gets moved to the Friday spot. He's done really well. All of these guys have fantastic ERAs. I mean, I don't know what the rankings are, but in terms of some sort of pecking order, I'd imagine Auburn's got to be at the top with what their pitching staff has done, at least in the starting role. Now you're getting into Oklahoma, who after a really hot start to the conference season, like they've cooled off. LJ Mercurius was dominating. He's kind of got hit a little bit. Now they're going to Auburn. They're a pretty sizable underdog. Do you give them any sort of shot here in this one, or is this an Auburn potential sweep?
No, I like Auburn here. With their pitching staff, I did not expect them to be this good, nearly this good at the beginning of the season, but they've been performing. And I think back at home, I think Oklahoma's a solid team. They've got a solid pitching staff. They're kind of your classic middle of the pack SEC team that can definitely make some noise, or, they could get a bad matchup and just not show up. But I do like Auburn at home here with how good their pitching staff is.
I do too. But would you be laying at 188?
You can find it at -180. I forgot on which book I got it at, but I am at where Auburn is. I also don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind the under. I think I'm a bit worried it could get out of hand late because it seems like some of these games have been doing that. Maybe like a 10-2, 10-3 sort of game with Auburn scoring 3 or 4 late. So that worries me, but I would definitely lean under.
Yeah, I'd probably lean under, but I'm not playing the under. I do like Auburn here. I just think, this is a team that wasn't being overlooked to start the year as a team that can really make a run into Omaha. But I don't think they were the first wave or the first tier that you're thinking about. This is like, hey, this is a dark horse. They're a good value pick. And in truth, I still think they have some flaws, but for what it's worth, as of right now, their starters can pitch really well, which is a huge component in the postseason. They have dogs on offense. I mean, they have Chris Rembert, who's probably going to be a first rounder. Chase Fralick's probably going to be a first rounder. So when you look at Auburn, they check a lot of boxes. Still, that being said, I don't know if I'm laying 188 with them. I happen to think this is a pretty solid parlay piece with Mississippi State, though. I think if we're looking to get some sort of equity, and you don't want to obviously lay 250 on Mississippi State, you're not looking to lay 188 on Auburn, but I do think parlaying those two is a pretty solid look there to be closing in around even money. Let me see if I could actually give you a definitive number here on DraftKings. Give me a sec. So those two parlay would come out to be plus 114. So that's a pretty solid value. John, let's talk about Kentucky here. Minus 160 at South Carolina. Very low pitching total, which you wouldn't expect to see against a South Carolina team. But since they fired Palminieri, they're at least more competitive. And quite frankly enough, they've kind of been a handful in a lot of these Friday night matchups. Aside from last week where they got boat raced by Mississippi State, a lot of these Friday night games, they've been challenging. And at home against Kentucky, it's going to be Amp Phillips. He's been pretty good. He's got a 2.52 ERA. He's got 59 Ks to 23 walks and 53 2/3. He's given up 6 home runs. I mean, but this is a formidable opponent against a Kentucky team who themselves are Jekyll and Hyde, who they've had some really good weekends and they've had some head scratchers. But Kentucky's throwing a guy I really liked coming over in the offseason. Jackson Jelkin was a big time transfer in my opinion. I really liked him out of Houston. Wasn't as well known unless you followed Houston baseball, but he's had a really good year. Jackson Jelkin has kind of made Kentucky into that team that might be able to make that push back in Omaha because he provides that Friday night dominance of an ace that you really, really need to be able to make that run. You're on mute, John.
Good call, Mike. So this is an interesting one for me. If you look back, I think Kentucky's lost every SEC series except their first one, which I believe was a full sweep of Alabama, which is obviously super weird if you just look back, but that's still the first weekend of conference play. I haven't been high on Kentucky all season long. I know a lot of people were. South Carolina does have 2 good starters at the top of their rotation. So I wanted to play either the under South Carolina here. I like both. I think I'm just going to end up going on South Carolina because of how heavy underdogs there. You can get around plus 130 at some places. And I just think this game should be much closer to even with, how little Kentucky has won. And I know South Carolina hasn't won much either, but, I think this is a very even series at South Carolina. So I would go under or South Carolina at plus money.
I don't hate your thought process, because I think South Carolina is going to get at least one. Kentucky's kind of they're in this gray area. They're just under 500 in the SEC. There's about a month left. A chance for them to finish above 500, but these are kind of the series that you got to not only win, but really realistically sweep. I don't know if South Carolina is going to get swept this weekend, but I'll tell you what, I think ultimately when Jackson Jelkin's pitching for Kentucky, that's when I want to take them. Now, if you want to go back to the well tomorrow with Stone on the mound for South Carolina, then I'd understand that. And I'm not saying South Carolina is a bad play today because Amp Phillips has pitched really well this year. I just think the way Jackson Jelkin's been going, let me read you off this game log. Last week against Vandy, 8 innings, 2 runs. The week before at Auburn, it was kind of a mess. There was a lot of errors. He gave up 8 runs, only 3 earned across 2 innings, but he gave up 7 hits. But also Auburn's offense, that's not South Carolina. Dominated Mizzou, had a really good start at LSU, had a great start at Ole Miss the week before. He was doing well against Alabama the opening SEC week, and then just some nonsense in the 6th inning kind of messed up his line, but he pitched well in that game. So, I mean, overall, almost every start Jelkin's had in the SEC has been good. And this is a guy that's giving them pretty much 7 or 8 innings every time he goes out there. Now, if I have a guy who's been doing that for the better part of the last month and a half, I think I'm going to take that shot at minus 160, despite how well Amp Phillips has been pitching, because Kentucky has a lot to play for right now. And I'm not saying that's the reason why I'm going. I just think off face value, the matchup is pretty good. Now you factor in price. Maybe I can understand why you think minus 160 is a little bit big. Maybe this should be more along the lines of like a minus 145 or a minus 150. But I think if Kentucky is going to win one, it's going to be today. It's going to be this one with Jelkin on the mound. I just think I like Jelkin a lot more than Amp Phillips, despite how well he's pitched. And I think Kentucky still is a pretty good team, despite the fact that they really haven't showed the consistency throughout the whole year. Let's keep going here in the SEC. We got a bigger line with Texas minus 250 at Vandy plus 190. Our boy Dylan Volantis has grown up, and he's in the Friday night role. Absolutely dominated last Friday. Fate maybe brought us here because he didn't get to pitch in Texas A&M series a couple weeks ago, and Jim Schlossnagle didn't want him to have a 15-day layover. So he goes into the Friday night role last week, dominates, and then now he's back in the Friday night role again at Vandy. This is a good series against Connor Fennell. Texas, man, you know it. This is a team I picked to win Omaha. I think this is where they have to really start making the run. Like, this is where they got to start getting really hot. They had a good bounce back last weekend at Vandy. This is like a tricky team, the Commodores. And I'll tell you what, I think if Vanderbilt wins today, if Texas wins today, they're going to sweep the series. Now, I'm not saying lay minus 250 with Texas, but I think this is a solid leg in that parlay with Mississippi State and Auburn. Like, Dylan Volantis is that guy. And I'm so excited to see him in the Friday night role because, like Aiden King, like Dax Whitney, like Chris Lavonis, this is going to be a first-round arm next summer. And I just think Texas is going to start hitting that gear. So I think Texas in a parlay piece is solid. I feel like I'm reading your mind right now, and you're like, yeah, but Connor Fennell at home at this big of a number is a little bit too enticing to lay off of.
No, I disagree. I'm with you on Texas here. I'm not a big Connor Fennell fan. He's really disappointed this year, and Vanderbilt has also seriously disappointed this year. I think if anything, I would go on Texas here. And I don't really know if it's an under game either because which Fennell is going to show up, and then the Vandy bats are so unpredictable. So I think this is one that I'll just end up staying off altogether.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it. I actually have Texas in something today, and obviously I'm rooting for them because of what I have on them long term. Would you consider playing Texas minus 1.5 at minus 130?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't love it. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I love it. So I think for me, that's the MO. But I'm telling you, Rudry Rojas tomorrow. And then after Connor Fennell, it's a lot up in the air with the Vanderbilt staff. So I really think Texas, if they get the win tonight, they're going to sweep the series. Let's take it down to Georgia, Ole Miss. Want to talk about Ole Miss for a minute? I'll let you start this one off. Slight favorite at home against Georgia. What's your thoughts on not just this game, but the series in general?
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. I haven't been too high on Georgia, and they just keep winning. And I mean, Ole Miss is a very good pitching staff, and they're playing fine. It's just I think this is a pretty accurate line. To be honest, I mean, Hunter Elliott going for Ole Miss, and then Georgia, I believe, has Volchko going. Yeah. So solid pitching matchup. I just think this is a pretty spot on line. I really don't have either side in this one. I think it could go either way, and I think the line's pretty accurate.
And did you say what you felt about the series?
Same idea. I mean, I think it could go either way. I think seeing the first game would definitely help, but I could honestly see Georgia sweeping. I could see Ole Miss sweeping, and I could see either one taking 2 games, which is why I'm just staying far away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because after getting swept by Mississippi State at home, Ole Miss has gone on to win 3 straight series. And they've had some impressive series that they've won. They won at Tennessee. They beat LSU. They won at Florida. Now, when you're looking at Georgia, right? Georgia lost their home series to Florida a few weeks ago. Then they go on the road. They beat Arkansas. And now they're coming in pretty hot after last weekend. I mean, it's been a little bit, it's been a little bit of a fall off after losing to Florida, but then they got back on. I mean, what I'm saying is like they swept Mississippi State at Mississippi State, which is a big one. Then they come home and they lose against Florida. And then they go on the road and they beat Arkansas. So while Ole Miss isn't exactly this team that is recognized as really good, they're quietly really good because they have enough power on offense and they have a good rotation led by Hunter Elliott. They got Cade Townsend back. That's a really interesting arm in draft names to circle in the next. I think he's a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe next year. And they got Taylor Rabe. It's a pretty good staff. So I think possibly we could be looking at the advantage of Ole Miss with the staff. And as good as Ole Miss's offense has been, Georgia Bulldogs, baby. That offense is lethal. Now, for Joey Volchko, what I would say is this. This is a guy that has wipeout stuff, but sometimes he's gotten himself into trouble with just his inability to command the zone, and he lets innings go on too long, and then before you know it, things start to snowball. But this is a guy that can absolutely go out there at Ole Miss today and go 6 innings, 2 earned, striking out 8. I personally think with a guy as talented as Volchko and as good of an offense as he has, Georgia is a great play today at -105. I think this is a really good play. And Hunter Elliott's been strong, man. Like at Tennessee, 6 innings, 3 earned last week. The week before against LSU, 6 innings, 2 earned. At Florida, it was a little bit of a shorter outing, 4 innings, 2 earned. Mississippi State was 5 1/3, 3 earned. Like he's been really good, Hunter Elliott. But Joey Volchko has that gear to like really just pick him up and leave him in the dust. And also with the way Georgia can swing it, leading the country in home runs, like this is a team that can get on you in a hurry. So I think -105 is a good price here to be taking the Bulldogs today. And I think the Bulldogs are going to win this series. Let's talk about this game. I mean, there's a lot on the slate today, but John, I got to say, man, I am interested as hell in this game tonight. Hawaii at Oregon State. So, Hawaii at Oregon State. Obviously, everybody knows Dax Whitney. Dax Whitney is disgusting. He's got a 1.76 ERA. He's got 95 or 97 strikeouts to like 11 walks and 56 innings each year. Like, we've talked about this. This isn't a guy that's most likely going to be the first pitcher off the board next year. He's probably going to be the number 1 pick if he keeps this up. He's that guy. And I've heard it throughout the year. Like other people have told me, this guy was not only a bigger prospect coming into college than Paul Skeens was, but at this time right now, he's way more polished than Paul Skeens was. Like he is a true 4 to 5 pitch mix guy. He's hitting triple digits. He's getting you out in so many different ways. Now, granted, Paul Skeens pitched at LSU. He pitched in the SEC. Dax Whitney's pitching against some of these teams that, most of them won't even make the field to 64. Nevertheless, he's going against Hawaii. Now, why this is interesting, in case you don't follow Hawaii, the Bows after dark. Their Friday night guy, John, Isaiah Magdaleno, has been amazing this year. Mid-2 ERA. This is a guy that went toe-to-toe and out-dueled Jackson Flora at Santa Barbara a few weeks ago. That's a huge resume notch. And Oregon State's offense isn't anything special. We thought maybe it would take some time for them to come around. And I've said that, and I was guilty of it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just hasn't happened yet. But Oregon State's offense only has 2 guys that are hitting over 300. Their leading home run guy is Bryce Hubbard with 8. So the fact is there's a really good chance that Oregon State yet again is not going to score. And by the way, Cal State Fullerton beat Dax Whitney last weekend 2-1. And, we'll get to Cal State Fullerton in a minute here as well. But I think a plus 370, even with Dax Whitney on the mound, even at home, that is an absurd number considering who's on the other side with Magdaleno. Why can't Hawaii win 2-1 or 1-0? That is well within reason. And by the way, the total just dropped on this, so let me update it. That is a total of 8. And I actually wrote this up on RotoWire. So this is the article and the game I featured on my RotoWire article today, where I said, whatever the total is, it's not low enough. I actually projected 7.5. It's 8. I still think that's a good under. I mean, this is a matchup, John, where we could see two guys go 7 innings apiece, striking out 10 apiece, shutty. Hawaii for the shot at plus 370, John Boy.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's at 8. I like the under. If you want to go for Hawaii, go for it. I mean, I don't think that's a terrible look at all, but I really don't think there'll be many runs scored on either side. These are two legitimate aces, and I think it's at 8 for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally understand. But I'm not saying Hawaii is going to win, but plus 370 in this situation is way too big. Way too big. But I agree that the realistic play is the under 8. I would probably make that a 2-unit play as well. I think I'm probably going to add that to my card. And hey, look, if it loses, somebody has a bad outing and the other team scores a bunch of runs or the bullpen blows it, so be it, man. Like, we're realistically looking at a potential of the starting pitchers combining for 14 shutty with like 17 or 18 strikeouts. I'll take that chance. God damn, what a matchup. Bows after dark against Oregon State and Dax Whitney. Sign me up. All right, other games to watch. There's a few we left off the card. John, before you get to something that you're looking at, the same exact line, is Cal State Fullerton at Santa Barbara. Fullerton is plus 370 to Santa Barbara's minus 560. The total is 8. I'm going to put it this way. Everybody knows Jackson Flora. Flora's my guy. Flora is a day one incubator guy for me. Day one incubator. Love this kid. But let me tell you something. As much as I love Jackson Flora, his offense isn't worth shit. And I feel bad because I like Santa Barbara. And I actually like to see Santa Barbara make a run this year. But his offense is not competent enough consistently. How many times where Jackson Flora's gone out there 7 shutty and they lose 1-0? That happened to Hawaii. It happened against Hawaii. He's had these starts where he goes out there, he doesn't give up a run, and they still lose. Because instead of going 7 innings, he went 6, or instead of going 8, he went 7, or instead of going 9, he went 8. And they're laying minus 560 against Cal State Fullerton, which, by the way, John, we talked about it. College baseball is better when Cal State Fullerton is good. And let me explain something to you, because I actually, you remember this, hit a banger with Fullerton earlier this year against Stanford when they were a huge dog. Why? Because their Friday night guy hasn't allowed an earned run in I think since March 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Micaiah Negretti, 4 straight shutties. He's coming off a complete game, 1 unearned run outing from last weekend, which I think was against Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken. Outdueling Dirty Dax Whitney. Plus 370 is outrageous. And again, in addition to the plus 370, the under at 8 is fair game. But if nothing else, Cal State Fullerton plus 3.5, I will take all day long. I think that is a great long shot with Hawaii. And if you're feeling super, super, super risky and frisky tonight, a little parlay for Hawaii money line, Cal State Fullerton money line. That's 21-1. John Boy, are you going to ride that with me?
I'm definitely riding the UCSB under. I think that's a great look. Fullerton plays super low scoring games. We know UCSB can't hit, and they have their ace in the mound. So I definitely love that under as well.
Sorry, I'm looking at a reply. WBG stepson, he goes, there's that money-winning mug I love. Flex that wrist jewelry. I'm not wearing it today. Let's cash this shit, homie. Love it. Let's do it. We got some good stuff here, some big long shots. John, take me to a game that we didn't touch on that you like. There's a few out there that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the only one I really don't think it's the best board, to be honest. But the only one that we didn't get into that I love, and I know you're going to be on this one because we got one of your boys pitching, is Brett Renfro and Virginia Tech
Ooh.
plus 180 at home against NC State. I haven't been very high on NC State. I believe Maroon's hurt too. I think he's out this weekend, and NC State has, yeah. So I don't think he's going. At least at Friday starters, they didn't have him going. And Virginia Tech's a solid. What was that?
Jacob Duden's out for the year for them as well, so he's definitely not going.
Yeah. So and NC State hasn't been playing great. Virginia Tech at home. Forgot who they played last week, but they were underdogs 2 of the 3 games, or they were underdogs all 3 games and ended up winning 2 of the 3. So, I mean, Virginia Tech's more than a live dog at plus money, and I think plus 180 is way too high. So I love that play.
Hey, I like that. I think that's strong. You got my guy Brett Renfro on the mound. Honestly, since I haven't taken much Virginia Tech since earlier in the year when I took a shot, but for your question, it's going to be Heath Andrews, who's pitching to a 6 ERA this year, 5.97. I definitely think Brett Renfro is a live dog here behind Virginia Tech. So, you know, I might add that to the board. John, there was one I wanted your thoughts on. About Kansas State. Any thoughts on Kansas State?
Yeah, I've been very high on Kansas lately. I mean, it seems like they're playing so well that either way, you know, home or road, they've been playing well. And usually these like rivalry matchups, it doesn't necessarily matter whether you're home or road. And neither team has great pitching. I like the over 11, I believe it's at, and I like Kansas there. Yeah, you know, I think they've just been the better team. I do think it could go either way, and plus money on the road. You know, I like Kansas.
I think so too. To be honest, like I had Kansas, and if you followed the Discord, you followed us preseason. Like Kansas was one of my bets to win the Big 12 preseason, and I think they were like 11-1, 12-1. But after they burned me opening weekend against UTRGV, I like really haven't bet Kansas at all. So I decided I couldn't handle it anymore. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just let the chips fall where they may with the Kansas Jayhawks. And that's that. But one I didn't do, and this is my fault because I didn't do the research on this because they went out of order and it was weird. What about Notre Dame at home, plus 120 against Boston College, minus 154? My boy Jack Riddell's on the mound. They had Riddell starting in Fridays. Then they moved him back to game 2s. And then just like I think last week, they moved him back to the Friday role. Are we feeling Notre Dame with Riddell on the mound?
I don't know about that game, to be honest. I just don't. Notre Dame was playing extremely well to start the season. The second half of ACC play, they've been terrible. So I don't know if he's on the mound that they'll be able to play well enough. So I don't love that one.
It's going to be AJ Colarusso, who's pitched really well. I mean, look, I'm probably not going to put it out as an official play because whatever Boston College is doing with their small ball manufacturing runs, it's been working. And Colarusso's having a breakout year. And I love Riddell. I really do. So that's why I think it's worth a shot. But if I'm being honest, I don't know if I love it enough to where I'm just going to put it out as an official play. In terms of Riddell, he is coming off a really bad start at Florida State last weekend. He got destroyed for 6 earned, 7 hits over 3. Before that, he did well against Virginia. He was okay against NC State. Realistically, other than a couple, well, he had a really bad start last weekend, and then he was subpar against Louisville in mid-March. But other than that, he's been really good. So I think it's worth a shot. Maybe the under. The under there is 9.5. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. So, you know, if you wanted to take a shot on Notre Dame, I wouldn't hate it. I'm trying to find. There was one more game that I don't think we had talked about. We talked on Kansas at plus 114. Sunday Puncher brought this up. UCF Utah. Utah at home, plus 110. Any thoughts? Or are you just kind of are you a little turned off by UCF lately?
I was never high on UCF, to be honest. They would kind of been screwing me a
Didn't you
bit.
go there?
No,
You went
Tulane.
to Tulane, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But Utah has been playing really well lately, especially at home. Utah's been a massive over team as well, and UCF hasn't. So I think it's a really weird matchup. I would go Utah here. I like Utah since they're at home, and I think UCF's falling off a bit. So yeah, I'd lean Utah.
Okay, fair point. Then I guess what about Southern Miss minus 180 at South Alabama plus 140?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I just stayed away from that game, to be honest. Southern Miss hasn't been playing as well. I mean, they've still been winning series, but they haven't been playing as well as they were to start the season. So
yeah,
180 is a little juicy on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably concur on that. I'm just trying to see anything on Clemson, Louisville. Basically a coin flip.
No, two shit teams. I'm staying away.
Two shit teams is right. What about Virginia minus 166 at Pitt plus 130?
Another one. I mean, Pitt has their one good starter going, and after that, their pitching is absolutely miserable. So I really, that's another one that I'm just staying away from.
Yeah. Well, look, I get it. Just certain things that like to bring up just to give ourselves an idea. But we've actually made pretty good time here, so we do have a little time to just kind of touch on the futures. It's been a minute, since we've been together doing this, and just want to put some stuff out there. Do you have anything right now that you're feeling for the futures, maybe to win it in Omaha? Like just going off what DK has right now, UCLA's 550, Georgia Tech 7-1, A&M's 850, Texas is 850, Mississippi State's 10-1, UNC's 11, Georgia's 14, Auburn's 18, and then there's a big drop off. Ole Miss is the next closest team at 30. Like, where are you looking at for any potential bets to be made in the futures market?
Yeah, I don't love making. I think this is the worst time of year to make any futures bets. Like at this point, I'd rather wait to get to regionals and see those matchups and then make those futures there. I think that's the move. The only I've got a couple to make the College World Series futures. The only one I have to win is Texas at plus 1,600. So I'm standing on that for now and see how far that gets me.
Wait, Texas to win everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I have that too. I have a good amount on Texas. I'll have even more if JB Bickerstaff wins Coach of the Year and Nathan McKinnon wins the Hart, which all of a sudden those two were pretty much locks. And then they all of a sudden went up like Matthew McConaughey, like fairy dust, not on the elemental charts. It's not fucking real. I think if you're going to make a play right now, like there's a lot of push-pull with these mid-tiers, like the Georgia's at 14-1, the Auburn's at 18-1, the UNC's at 11, the Mississippi State's at 10-1. Like those, I think, are going to still be subject to some sort of change. I think if you haven't gotten anything on Texas, I think you're better off waiting. The best price I've seen is FanDuel at $9.50, which I still think is fine. I think that's a solid price. I think that should probably be like more closer to like 6.5-1. So I think that's not a bad ticket to take if you want to get a piece. The only team at those short of odds otherwise, I think there's a 6-1 on UCLA. Now, John, we talked about this in early February. UCLA was always going to be a team that I picked to win the Big Ten. They were plus 120 and gave them out of 3 units. Because I said flat out, I'm like, look, I think UCLA is going to be really good again. I think they're going to win at least 45 games. I think they're going to destroy the Big Ten. They're going to win with a margin of at least 5 or 6 games, which right now it might be more. And they're going to get a layup of a regional, walk to the Supers, and then it just depends if they get a tough SEC or ACC team that might be able to contend with them in the Supers that keeps them from Omaha. But assuming that's not the case and they get past, then they're in Omaha. Then it all comes down to can they win in Omaha? And I think their best price at any point was 12-1, which, looking back, it was a solid price. Like I wasn't rushing to bet it because there was still a lot to happen. Like we didn't know Logan Redeman was going to be as good as he was. We didn't know Will Gasparino was going to make the jump. Like those are 2 big contributors for them. Like we knew Chalowski was going to be a dog. We knew Mullave Lavu and Roman Martin. Like we knew those things were going to happen. But there was a lot of other things up in the air that like we weren't 100% sure they were going to be that much better than they were last year. But kind of looking at it now, I don't think it's an awful idea to take a piece on UCLA. Like I'm debating on doing the same thing myself because right now, in my opinion, I think it's clear as day there's two teams in their own tier, and it's UCLA and Texas. And I think it's easy to say UCLA might be the best. And I look, if you said that, I don't think it's a crazy take. I think that's a fair point. But they're not grinding against the top teams every weekend. Like even when Texas plays an Ole Miss or an Oklahoma, like those are still good teams. And they're in the SEC and they're playing this pretty much every weekend. Like even Vanderbilt's a good team in the big picture. So, I think with the easier path that UCLA has, now it makes sense to maybe take them. Especially if you have a piece on, say, Texas, like I do or you do. Maybe throw in a couple hundred on UCLA just to kind of get a position down. I mean, if that's going to make enough of a financial impact is a different conversation. But I don't think that's terrible. But otherwise, if we're looking for a long shot, like let's really look at it. The only team that I think really, really has the chops to make the run right now would be Florida. Because when Florida plays to their ceiling, they can beat anybody. It's just when that happens. And then like we've seen this movie a million times. The team doesn't look like they're going to be able to make a run and at the end of the year and we're in the middle of it and it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Then just something clicks and then they make that run. But in terms of a team that has the talent, it's Florida. They have the pitching. They have enough offense. They have a fantastic head coach. So I think Florida 35-1, if you hadn't taken a piece, that's a bet to make. Like Oregon State, I don't think is a bad piece. It's just their offense is a bit of a question mark. But I'm not buying Ole Miss. I'm not buying Florida State or Nebraska or Wake Forest or Oklahoma or Coastal or Virginia or Boston College or Oregon or Miami or West Virginia or Alabama. Like none of those other teams I think are even worth a shot.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to be one of the teams in that top tier.
Well, let me ask you this, and chances are I think their shot was last year. But just off the value, you can get Arkansas at 55-1. They're 10-9 right now. Not saying they're going to win, but to have a position, like if for people like us that have positions on other teams that have a realistic chance to win a really good one, and then Arkansas somehow gets hot, makes a run, and then you need a little bit of a reassurance and trying to create some equity on a ticket or hedge or whatever the case may be. You have that in pocket. Like, is there any scenario where you want to take Arkansas at 55-1? Like they're at Mizzou this weekend, right? Say they sweep. Then they get Ole Miss. Say they win that one. They get Oklahoma and they finish with Kentucky.
No, I'll stop you right there. I was so high on them last year. I thought it was their year, and they fucked me in the semis. And that team, and I don't think this team is nearly as good as the team last year. So I'm not touching Arkansas.
I agree. It's kind of crazy. Wow. Vanderbilt is 300-1. I'm not saying Vanderbilt's going to win, but it's pretty insane. Let's see what Vanderbilt's going to finish. They're 9-9. Vanderbilt has Texas this weekend, so they'll probably lose. They're at Alabama next weekend. Good chance they lose. Finish at Mizzou and then home to South Carolina. Probably not taking them. OK State, no. It's kind of crazy to see some of these like bigger name teams all the way down the board. Is there any maybe mid-major you're looking at that you take a stab on when we get closer? Like is Kent State maybe that team that you're keeping an eye on as a Murray State 2.0?
No, I still think like Southern Miss would be my favorite mid-major to actually make a run, like to make College World Series. But that I would definitely wait on because those odds aren't going to change much.
One team I gotta say, man, one team I am curious on. If you're gonna take a shot at one of these teams that's deep, like, and I'm talking about big with a capital B, that might be Cal State Fullerton at 500-1. Bro, Cal State Fullerton, like I said, they already got the ace in Micaiah Negretti. They got another good starter in Bobby Mahoney. Their team ERA is 3.81. Offensively, they're not great, but I mean, they have a couple guys that could be good enough. And I mean, bro, you just never know who shows up in June. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to take it right now, but I think if I'm looking at a team down the board that like I'm going to have my eye on and maybe make a move for a sprinkle in a month from now or 6 weeks from now, I think Cal State Fullerton might be that team. Am I crazy for thinking that?
I'm not betting on them, but it's up to you.
I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just like, I'm saying a team to like get there, get some skin on and bro, I don't know. Like, you never know. Like, you saw what happened with Murray State. Did anybody think Murray State was going to make that run? And I'm telling you, like, this is a year where there's a big drop off in the tiers. Like, I mean, you look at some of these other schools. I don't think, other than Texas and UCLA, I think anybody else is really up for grabs. I think A&M right now, like, I think their offense is good. I think their pitching has been performing well, but I think they're a team that's like, I don't think they're as good as what their odds suggest. Georgia Tech has big pitching flaws. UNC, as big of a series win as that was last weekend, I still think there's some flaws in their game. Same thing kind of goes for a lot of the other teams down the board here. Probably not Missouri State. Do love Caden Bogenpole, though. Arizona State, a safe parlay piece. I would never suggest Arizona State is a safe anything. John, back me up here. Is Arizona State ever a safe anything? I've learned the hard way many times, so don't.
I think they're definitely better parlay pieces tonight
Than Arizona State.
Yeah.
John Venezia III was violently uprooted by Arizona State many a times last year. Don't fall victim. It's like drugs. Just say no. John, this is a good show. Wait for us to get back here. Really appreciate it. Make sure everybody knows where they can find you.
Yeah, at John Bollman 11 on X, and then Baseball with Bollman on TikTok and Instagram, but mainly just going to be on X.
Yeah. And of course, you can follow my stuff here at Breaking Bet, Twitter _JohnnyVTV, and RotoWire for all my in-depth articles. Appreciate everybody for tuning in here on this Friday afternoon. We'll be back at it next week. Let's go win some money, make the books pay.